What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I am your host, Chris Raybon. NFL Week 10 is here. We got your waivers, but the trade deadline is here. Koerner, what is going on? How are you feeling about these trades? I mean, you thought for a second it might be kind of a dead deadline, but a lot of guys on the move. Jacoby Myers, Sauce Gardner, AD Mitchell. Any quick thoughts on any of the trades that have occurred so far?
Yeah. So far, it's been pretty active. I was mainly joking about that to maybe like reverse jinx it so we can get some big trades. But yeah, Jacoby Myers of the Jaguars was a good one. The Jaguars have been really hurting at wide receiver. Travis Hunter out for the season. Brian Thomas Jr. is banged up. So yeah, I think it's a good landing spot for Myers. I think his value probably stays relatively the same. And then Rashid Shaheed to Seattle. I think he probably takes a bit of a hit, but he is a Clint Kubiak guy. I think they're going to find ways to get him involved. So that's probably going to hurt, Cooper Kupp, maybe Torrey Horton, but who knows? That guy just keeps balling out no matter what. But yeah, I bet we do see like potentially like a Breece Hall or David Njoku get traded. We'll see, but yeah, there's probably still a couple more left in the chamber.
Yeah, I have to say, I actually think Shaheed might see an uptick in value. He was going from the worst quarterback situation or one of the bottom like three in the league to Sam Darnold, who's playing like the best quarterback in football right now. So I think there's a chance for Shaheed here. We both thought Cooper Kupp was kind of on shaky ground heading into the year.
It's just, they just use so many heavy personnel, 2 wide receiver sets. So like what kind of routes run rate do you think he can get in this? Do you think he's going to be like right in that 60-70% range, or like how are you viewing that?
I would think he gets about 75%. I don't think you trade for a guy if you're not going to give him, 65, 75 as top 3 receiver. Horton's playing so well that maybe they do something with Kupp. Maybe Kupp is more injured than we know. Maybe they just want to demote him. I mean, all those scenarios make sense, but obviously they're going to lean on Barner and Arroyo playing really well too, but you can't do that every game. Like sometimes you're going to get a lot of man coverage and you're going to in single high and things like that. You're going to need to beat guys deep. So I think there's at least a good chance, I would say, just because the quarterbacks were so bad in New Orleans. But we digress. We'll get into all of our top waiver ads for week 10, and we're kind of recording as this trade deadline is still ongoing. So we'll see if there's anything breaking as we do this. But quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content available right now over at fantasylabs.com. Fantasy Labs includes NFL in-season rankings, waiver wire, DFS tips, and more. Be sure to use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. All right, let's get right into it. Week 10 quarterback, who you targeting on the waiver wire, Sean?
Yeah, so last week I had mentioned the idea of just, adding Jacoby Brissett just in case Kyler Murray wasn't able to suit up because he had that great matchup against the Cowboys. And sure enough, that's what happened. So that plan paid off. So, if he's out there, you still have him. I would hang on just to see if he starts again this week. A little bit of a tougher matchup against the Seahawks. So, Brissett would still be my top guy if he keeps the job, I guess, at this point. But I think that the better long-term ad right now would be Mariota. He's available in 96% of formats. And Jaden Daniels suffered that will look like a season-ending arm injury, just a awful situation for him. But that, that means that Mariota is going to be the starting quarterback the rest of the way, most likely. So he's the kind of guy that's going to offer QB1 upside in the right spots. I don't think this week against the Lions exactly is, but if he has Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel both healthy and he has that rushing upside, again, he could offer spiked weeks. I think, he's more of a high floor QB2 option, but just the fact that he probably is starting the rest of the season now gives him just that added value. I think he should be scooped up in, probably like 2 QB super flex leagues first.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Mariota is a borderline top 15 quarterback this week, regardless of who's in, who's out. Just playing the Lions, who probably going to be a high scoring game regardless. So like him, and my other guy, Sam Darnold. I can't fade him anymore. I tried to bet against him, and I was like, his 9.1 yards per attempt is going to regress. And then at one point in the game, he was like 13 of 13 for 17.6 YPA. That might be the highest YPA I've ever seen in a box score that deep into the game at quarterback. So, I mean, Sam Darnold's just balling out. We'll see if he gets. You think Shaheed is active this week?
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes,
yeah, I think.
right.
Yeah, the fact that they got him this early in the week, and again, he's already played under Clint Kubiak before,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, he'll be out there. And to your point, that just makes Darnold's value even better. If anything, the Shaheed trade just helps Darnold out the most.
Yeah, and I think, and not that he needed help. Again, pretty
Right.
much playing like the top quarterback in football, but you look at that Arizona defense, coming off the bye, extra time to prepare. They had a really good game plan against the Cowboys and Dak, who would struggle a little bit against that type of scheme. But now it's a little different. You're on a short week going against this Seattle offense, which is just look like a complete juggernaut. And whatever they figured out about Sam Darnold in Minnesota, like all of a sudden, Sam Darnold's looking like the winner out of this whole, Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold marriage deal situation. Jackson Smith and Jigba is ridiculous. 948 yards to lead the league. That helps a lot. But I mean, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks, 9.6 yards per attempt, 13.7 per completion, 70% completion rate. I don't know what else we want this guy to do. He's probably going to have to be top 12 option going forward at this point until he shows us otherwise. So love Sam Darnold. Still available about half of leagues. Shouldn't be. Running backs is interesting to say the least. I mean, last week was just an unmitigated disaster at some of the spots. Like who was it? Bam Knight did nothing. Tracy and Singletary essentially split snaps. It was just a very odd situation in some of those backfields where you're looking on the wire heading into week 10.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this time last week, I was saying add Kyle Monangai. I had no idea why he was available in so many leagues because he was already kind of like an RB3 flex role. I've been comping him to David Montgomery just because, he's sort of playing that role in Ben Johnson's offense. But like, who would you comp him to in real life? Like, he's a mix of like Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry and a little bit of Montgomery, but he's looking
Dickerson,
really good out there.
Walter Payton. After last week, I mean,
yeah, you know what? Yeah, we got to upgrade the comp here. Walter Payton, it is. Love it. So he should be gone by now. Obviously, once DeAndre Swift is ruled out, he got scooped up in every league. So kind of a weird week. Again, we got the trade deadline coming up, so some of these guys that are out there could become their team starter the rest of the season. But some of the guys that stood out to me just from last week was Devin Singletary. We sort of thought Tyrone Tracy was going to lead this backfield after Scatterboo went down, but it was actually Singletary. And it was kind of a surprise. Singletary's Ben Dable's guy. He played with him back in Buffalo. So, it seems like Dable just trusted his veteran a little bit more. But, he's more of a low-end RB3 flex option. It could easily be Tyrone Tracy's backfield as soon as this week, but this is a good matchup against the Bears. So you could do worse if you're in a pinch and just kind of want a higher floor play. And another guy I think it's worth talking about because people might be wanting to add him. I'm not saying you got to add him, but Amari DiMercado sort of operated as the lead back yesterday. And, this Cardinals backfield has been tricky to project. I don't know what they were doing with Michael Carter throughout the week, but he was the odd man out this week. So DiMercado actually, he benefited from the leading game script because he kind of had the hot hand. So you saw a lot of production in the second half, but I'm not saying to add him because this week he has a way tougher matchup against the Seahawks. And, Trey Benson could return as soon as this week. I haven't seen any reports one way or the other. But this is just an uncertain backfield. So don't really run out and add DiMercado after last night. I think the guys that we got to be adding are Isaiah Davis and Tajay Spears. If, Breece Hall or Tony Pollard get traded. If you're listening to this and, they've been traded, great. Add them because they're going to be the lead backs the rest of the way. If the trade deadline comes and passes, and neither Breece Hall or Tony Pollard were traded away, then these guys are just handcuffs the rest of the way, and I don't think you need to add them. So it's pretty cut and dry with those guys, what we should do, pending on the next couple hours. But I think Blake Corum, just a weekly reminder that he shouldn't be available in 90% of leagues right now, because he's surprisingly pushing, RB3 flex value in his limited backup role. But if Kyron Williams were to ever miss time, which he has not now in Blake Corum's 2-year career, Corum would offer RB1 upside. So not many running backs available out there offer that kind of upside, and he does see enough work now to use in a pinch. So I think Blake Corum's still one of the most coveted backs I think is widely available. But a lot of options this week that we'll kind of have to sort through once the trade deadline comes and goes.
The Jets just traded Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. So that's
for
big.
A first
it seems
round
like
pick.
Yeah, Dallas will send its first round pick and more. So we got to see exactly what the Jets are getting back. Haven't seen it yet, but it seems like the Jets are trading everybody away. So I wouldn't be surprised if while we're recording this or the next one, that Breece Hall is in fact dealt. So I think that Davis call is a good one. One guy I want to talk about, and he kind of doesn't fit into these boxes. I mean, there's a slight chance that Travis Etienne gets traded, but I don't think so. I think he's going to be a bigger part of the offense. But I think so is Bashal Tutin, who is still available in about 70% of leagues. And you kind of look for guys like that coming out of the bye. And Tutin just continues to be on the field at the right times to get these touchdowns. And it's starting to be a trend. And Etienne got kind of shortchanged, both of them really, because Trevor Lawrence had, another signature 2-touchdown rushing game. So, it's, I think that there's even more rushing touchdowns to be scored for this Jaguars running back room. And, I mean, you just kind of read the tea leaves and, they're trading for receivers, but, their top receiver is kind of banged up. Their number 2 guy is on IR. And they're using a guy that started the year as their number 4 or 5 as the number 1. So I think they could get even more run heavy. I would take a kind of a shot on Tutin here. He could still turn into that Bucky Irving like player over the second half of the year that we thought he would. Still returning kicks too, so always gets a couple extra shots at a touchdown, which we like. So that's the guy that I'm kind of targeting. But with the trade deadline, I think there's a bunch of other situations too, like Devin Neal in New Orleans. If Kamara gets traded, that would be interesting. I don't think the Patriots are going to do anything, but it was kind of surprising to me. Not that surprising, but Terrell Jennings mixed in more than he kind of was anticipated. The Cardinals backfield, like you mentioned, is still up for grabs. So a lot of things to monitor here, but I think Tutin's kind of one of those guys that might fly under the radar. Just could have like a RJ Harvey like breakout over these next few weeks or even more. Wide receiver. There are some interesting options with all this movement. Who are you targeting?
Yeah, I think with the Jacoby Myers trade, it just makes Trey Tucker sort of a safer wide receiver 3 type option. As I predicted, he's been kind of dropped in a ton of leagues since his 3 touchdown game. He's always been kind of a boom bust guy. So after the 3 touchdown game, I'm like, people are going to be expecting too much from him. But he's actually been pretty consistent, even though he hasn't really had a big game since then. He's been pretty consistent, getting 3 to 5 catches a game. But I think with Myers gone, he should offer, an even higher floor as sort of the clear number 1 wide receiver now. And Raiders are using a ton of 2 tight end personnel finally. So he's going to be out there pretty much every drop back. And, with Myers gone, probably pick up a couple more targets along the way as well. So, he's just a wide receiver 3 option with, spike week potential. But I think the odds are more likely that he'll get 3 to 4 catches going forward at least. So like adding Trey Tucker. Yeah, a tougher matchup this week against the Broncos though. And then I put Torrey Horton in here because he just continues to produce, typically on my bench in most fantasy leagues. But, with Cooper Kupp missing last week, he saw more playing time, more opportunity, went 4 catches, 48 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, with Rashid Shaheed now in the mix, it's going to be even murkier. So I think he's more of a deeper league stash, just kind of like a high upside guy. You got to be willing to take a dud with him though, because with JSN there, hogging all the targets, this is going to be a pretty murky room if and when Cooper Kupp comes back. But Troy Horton, he's flashed that upside I thought he had, and has touch on upside. So he's a deeper league stash in my opinion now. But Alec Pierce, I think, is one of the best waiver wire ads this week at wide receiver because, he's still available in 74% of leagues. And yeah, he has the big play upside, but he's also offering a pretty high floor now. It just seems like every week he's producing like a legit wide receiver 2 type option. He had 6 catches, 115 yards last week. This is with, everyone healthy, Pittman, Downs, Tyler Warren all healthy. And if any one of them has time, he's just going to see even more targets. You could argue even if JT were to go down, Pierce would benefit. So he has, room for even more upside. So he's my, wide receiver 37 entering the week, but he has like a really high ceiling and a higher floor profile than we've seen from him. So love adding Alec Pierce as like a bench stash potential wide receiver 3 option with, some spike week potential every week.
Yeah, Alec Pierce he's been doing this now for what, 2-3 years. It's just most games, especially against defenses that will play man or single high, he's going to catch a couple of deep bombs, whether he gets into the end zone or not. The guy I had is Parker Washington. Now, he's a little shakier with Jacoby Myers there, but Parker Washington has been essentially the Jaguars' best receiver all year. I think you and I were talking about that off air going into this week, how, he was going to be sneaky. And, we saw it last week, the second straight week, 90% route rate. So, Jacoby Myers is more of an underneath target too. But with all the injuries and just upheaval here and the fact that Myers is new and Trevor Lawrence really hasn't played or shown chemistry with any of his receivers outside of Washington to that degree, I think you stick with him at least for this week. It is a tougher matchup, but he can move around. He won't be tethered to just, playing in one spot against those Houston corners. So I think Washington is not a guy I'm going to shy away from. He's been just a target hog all year long, 22% target per route rate, easily leads the Jaguars. Brian Thomas at 21%, but 20.6%, I should say, but trending down. So Parker Washington, a 1.5% lead over Brian Thomas, which is kind of unexpected. I think you got to continue to roll with him. And I'm curious to see your thoughts on, just going forward, A.D. Mitchell with the Jets. I know you've always liked Mitchell as a player. He's always kind of been he's kind of hurt himself, but he could be a 95% route guy with Reynolds on IR, right?
Yeah, I don't like the landing spot because, again, they have like 140 passing yards to go around. 60% go to Garrett Wilson, 40% go to Mason Taylor and Breece Hall for now. So not a great landing spot. They also added John Mechie the third a couple weeks ago.
I forgot about him.
I think is sneaky. So it's just like, he's probably just going to go there and waste away again. But like I would have enjoyed him going to the Saints and have them trading away Shaheed and Olave, and then you have Tyler Shuck just bombing it deep to A.D. Mitchell every week. So don't love the landing spot, but yeah, I think he needed to change of scenery. He's very talented, but still very raw route runner and just getting on the same page with this quarterback. It's just not a spot where I think there's going to be a ton of passing yards to go around. So yeah, I have him right around 1 to 2 catches this week, if that. But didn't like the landing spot, but happy to see him elsewhere now.
I think there's some upside there just because, yes, it's a terrible, in terms of the distribution of passing yards, but he is a receiver. He's probably on the same talent level, if not more talented than a guy like Taylor. So it's conceivable that he's the number 2 right away because they clearly don't want to play Tyler Johnson. He wasn't playing until everybody got hurt. Lazard, same thing. He's a Rodgers holdover. Isaiah Williams is a special teamer. John Mechie is a healthy scratch / special teamer. And Arian Smith has really given him nothing all year. So I'm still going to add him in some spots and just take my chances in it. This is coming from a guy that really does not like Mitchell, but I do think that this is a potential situation. The Jets are just weird. Remember, like they probably looked at his matter rating or something and were like, okay, he's better than everyone we have.
He's like, he's like a raw T. Higgins. He has all the tools. He just, hasn't put it together yet. But be interested to see who gets the Jets-Browns game. I think if it's one of us, we're probably giving out A.D. Mitchell for anytime touchdown. Is that what you're hinting at?
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm also, a couple other guys I'll mention, I think Malik Washington is going to be interesting going down the stretch here. They have nothing but to kind of get a better look at him. He's kind of a gadget guy. And then who takes over is it going to be Tyler Lockett as their number 2? Because that would just really help Tucker. Besh played no snaps.
I was going to say,
snaps.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Lockett's the number 2 receiver already. Had, less than a week to learn the playbook. But he obviously has chemistry with Geno Smith. So I wasn't too surprised to see that. But yeah, like that only helps Trey Tucker even more. You always make that point. Like if you have kind of like a weaker wide receiver 2, that just helps. But yeah, I wonder if we do see Besh more involved. They kind of need to see what they have in him. Mm-hmm. But I think he kind of overlaps with Brock Bowers a lot. Like he's just going to be an underneath guy. So, and Michael Mayer's playing a lot more. So I think Besh's target share would be capped in these 2 tight end sets anyway. But it looks like Lockett's the number 2 receiver for them, at least for now.
I mean, the fact that they came out of the bye, they're terrible. And they played both of their rookie receivers 0 snaps. The Raiders
did you see their pass rate over expected? I think it was the highest on the year for anybody. Just randomly out of the bye when I was on Geno's under. One of the few bets I lost that week, but it was just like a bizarre case of they just came out swinging. It was like just an ultra air raid attack this week. I don't know what happened.
I think it's something to do with Brock Bowers being in the lineup. They were like Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. They're older guys. They're trying to win now. So because we think the Raiders are terrible, like they're like, hey, stop playing the rookies. Every game is a playoff game from here on out. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. But at some point, they'll just probably flip that switch the other direction. But I don't know if it's going to be this week yet, judging by the fact that they traded for a washed Lockett and played both of their rookies who they need to see 0 snaps. So that was very, very curious to say the least. But I think it just helps Tucker. Tight end. Man, tight end. Got some options here. Who are you targeting on the waiver wire, Sean Koerner, for week 10?
Yeah, Theo Johnson sticks out to me. I mean, because we're at the point where I think he could be a legit tight end 1 the rest of the way and needs to be added in most leagues. He's out there running around about 90% of the time. And he saw a boost in target share ever since Malik Neighbors went down for the season. And, while Wandale's still the top target, Theo's the clear number 2 and Dart's clear top target once they get in scoring range. He now has 5 touchdowns since Dart took over. So he's my tight end 8 to open the week, and I don't see any reason to, not view him as a tight end 1 the rest of the way. And the other guy we got to mention is Luke Musgrave, who should, step up with Tucker Kraft now out for the season. So again, that just gives him long-term value. But, he's probably more of a tight end 2 type option. But he does have upside because, he was drafted ahead of Tucker Kraft. And it kind of reminds me of when the Ravens drafted Hayden Hurst over Mark Andrews. It just turned out Mark Andrews is better. I think it's clear Tucker Kraft was the better, talent at this point. So we're going to see your guy, John Fitzpatrick, probably mix in a lot more than Musgrave was mixing in, to Kraft when he was healthy. So I think he'll be like a 70-75% routes run guy with, probably less touchdown upside than Kraft. So I see him being like a tight end 2 type option, but definitely worth an add in deeper leagues just to see, because he was a high end tight end prospect. He's just been kind of leapfrogged by Tucker Kraft, so he could pop here in the second half of the season as the lead tight end. So he definitely has tight end 1 upside. I'm just being a little bit cautious out of the gate with him.
Speaking of my guys and top prospects, the guy I think you got to add is Colston Loveland. Finally had a true breakout game, and what a game it was! 118 yards, 2 tutties, the game winner for the Bears. He's still available in about 3/4 of leagues, going up against the Giants, who have been weak against the position. And I think going forward, Cole Kmet, even when he does return, what we saw was him playing a lot more on rundowns, and Loveland essentially being the guy that was always on the field when they were going to pass, and that's fine. It's just kind of like a running back who doesn't play on third down, except the opposite. It's like we just need these guys on the field when they're passing. We don't need him to block too much. So I think Loveland is a good bet for that normal kind of starting tight end route range going forward. Even when Kmet returns, he should still be around 70%. If not more. And that's enough for him because I think, this Bears passing offense has been a little bit shaky up until this point, and we finally saw that, okay, Rome Odunze can have like a true dud. I mean, he's actually had 3 of them now where he's just had, I believe it's 2 or fewer catches. So, that's just good news for Loveland. I think, DJ Moore won't do what he did last game every game. So really like Loveland, and if Monogonai is going to mix in more as a at running back, that's probably also good news because I think he is more of that like David Montgomery. He'll be more involved in the run game, but that takes snaps away from Swift, who probably would command more targets. So just the arrow pointing straight up for Loveland this week against the Giants, high total game, and Kmet likely to miss. Yeah, love Loveland this week. Love him going forward. I would, and one other guy, Harold Fannin Jr. We don't know what's going on with Njoku, but either way, you said this before. Like he's got a chance to still be a top 12 guy the rest of the way. So I think he should also be added. Might be a little under the radar coming off the bye, but if you can't get Loveland, I would definitely target Fannin if he's available. He's still available in about half of leagues, and he should not be.
Yeah. And Loveland, again, he just has tight end 1 upside. It's been interesting to see the discourse around Tyler Warren and Loveland this year, just based on the first half of the season. It's kind of the range of outcomes we thought, right? I mean, Tyler Warren was in a situation where he was going to be the guy right out of the gate, 0 competition for snaps at tight end. He's got to compete with, Pittman and Downs. But he's been really good. And Loveland, we kind of thought, Kmet's there. He's got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, even Luther Burden to compete with. But when he does get his chance, he's just as legit as Tyler Warren. We saw that this week, right? So it's been interesting. People kind of writing him off when it's no fault to his own, but he definitely has, top 5 upside if Kmet's out, or even if, like DJ Moore misses time, he's got that kind of upside.
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson's starting to realize like he just has to kind of use one of the 2 tight ends as the Brock Wright, and it's got to be Cole Kmet. It's just Caleb Williams just doesn't target Cole Kmet. He just doesn't play as well with Cole Kmet when he's the number 1 tight end as he does when he's not out there. So I think that'll Loveland will be fine going forward regardless of Kmet. And Monogonai, at running back might take over early downs for Swift too. So
yeah,
a lot of upheaval with the Bears. But let's go to defense, special teams. Who are you looking at for week 10? A lot of options that are very low rostered, so you should be able to get one of these.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have the Jets for now, just because this should be a lower scoring game either way. And Dillon Gabriel has been shaky this year. He only has 2 interceptions so far in the year, but just based on his turnover-worthy throw rate, I have him closer to 5 expected, so he's probably due to throw a few more picks. And the Jets defense, they have 0 picks on the season, but 2.3 expected. So I think
they have 0 players Gabriel, too, though.
Well, yeah, I know that's the point. Is like they traded away Sauce, Quinnen Williams, although they did get Mozzie Smith. We got some moving parts here, but still, the team total for the Browns is still low. Dillon Gabriel is still bad, so no matter who the Jets are trading, Gabriel is still a bad quarterback. I think I would pivot to your option now, but I have both these defenses in my top 5 to open the weekend. They're available in 95% of leagues. So yeah, I think Jets and Panthers are the streaming options for me this week.
Yeah, the Panthers are my number 2 defense behind only Denver to open the week, and I have them a point ahead of the Jets, and that was before the trade, so I probably be even a little more now. But the thing is, kind of expected New Orleans to be a seller at the deadline. I don't think trading Shaheed makes them any better. Their running game is broken. Losing McCoy at center to injury a couple weeks ago. We've seen this movie last year when they started out looking like a juggernaut, and then McCoy got hurt, and it was just downhill from there. So I just think that this Panther defense is we have to start taking them seriously. They were kind of tops in the league for a while against the run, and then they gave up that big game to James Cook, and they kind of fell to mediocre. But then they just kind of slowed down the Packers, and don't look now, but the Panthers making a run at the playoffs, defense playing well, and I just don't think New Orleans is really set up to take advantage of any of the Panthers' weaknesses. So yeah, love Carolina this week, and especially now with all of this Jets news. I think Carolina definitely is the one you want to target first, and then maybe Buffalo comes into play too. If people drop them because of the Chiefs matchup last week. Okay,
we have
kicker.
some breaking news. Breece Hall tweeted a question mark, and Tom Pelissero is reporting Breece Hall is not expected to be traded as of now.
He's tight. He's probably like, I got to play with these scrubs, these remaining scrubs.
I think he wanted to get traded, which again, zero impact on the waiver wire, because if he gets traded, it's not like Breece Hall's available. He probably nukes the value of everybody he's joining, and the only ad you can really make is Isaiah Davis. So it's just looking less likely that Isaiah Davis will be the Jets lead back the rest of the way. But there's still a couple hours left, so we could still see Breece Hall traded.
Wonder if the Bengals would have any interest, but they're always they might be cap strapped. But it's like sometimes you just see these players get traded to teams they just played, like with Myers. So
I've seen the Texans. Texans would make sense to get Breece Hall, right?
I mean, after British Brooks got stuffed at the goal line, yeah.
I think they would make sense, but they're 3 and 5. Stroud's probably missing this week, so
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to kind of envision a suitor for Breece Hall. I mean, the Steelers have been rumored to target, receivers over running backs. I think Gainwell's played well for them, and then the Chiefs would probably be that team. But I don't know exactly how they're approaching it now that Pacheco might miss another game or two even going forward. So that would be the team to kind of watch for. But yeah, it's there's not a lot of teams that just need like a guy to carry the ball 18 times that are in a position where they want to get picks for that. So
exactly.
But yeah, let's close it out. Week 10 waivers, fantasy flex, kickers. I know you got the new kicker model. Who you targeting this week?
Well, it's my guy Will Reichard, of course. He opens the week inside my top 5. He's at home against the Ravens, and I thought JJ McCarthy looked solid enough last week, so should be able to get them across midfield at least a few times, which is all Reichard needs. And then maybe they stall out, but he went 2 for 2 last week with another 50-yarder. He missed that kick against the Chargers, which people think may have hit another wire cable. So I deleted his miss in my model from the London game that hit the wire. It clearly hit the wire. I didn't say he made that. I just removed it completely. The Charger one, I'm giving him a 50% make on that one kick. So he's still popping in my expected field goal percentage, especially at home. When he's kicking at home, he is absolutely money. He can hit it from 60 plus yards if they need. So he is popping my model, and good bet to kick at least 2 field goals this week, and long distance ones, which is always a bonus in fantasy. So yeah, he opens the week inside my top 5.
For me, it's a guy. Remember last week I said I forget who I gave out, but I was like, Cairo Santos is actually number 1 in my model. If I don't, so he's number 3 this week. So I'm just gonna give him out. Still available almost everywhere. And another one of these high total games for the Bears. And don't look now, but Santos has put up double-digit kicking points in each of the last 3. So this is another spot where I think you target him. He's only behind Bates and McLaughlin for me to start the week. And he's up almost a half point ahead of Jason Myers. So he's probably locked in to that top 3 for me going as the week progresses.
How about Cam Little?
I mean,
67.
We knew he was going to do something like that, right?
Aubrey almost tied it. Yeah, I know. He already made a 70-yarder. The 67-yarder would have been good from 70. So this guy's, the GOAT right now. Barely made the 30-yarder, of course. But, that was incredible.
Yeah, the problem is he didn't even attempt a 50-yarder until week 5. And then he's only made 2 on the year. So it's like we love the talent, but the Jaguars just haven't been able to, they've been playing these games where they're either needing touchdowns or they're getting short field goals because they're screwing up in the red zone. Kind of the same story with them. So hopefully that kind of normalizes. You would expect a guy like him with all that talent to have more than 2 makes from 50 plus, especially when he has a 68-yarder as one of them. But he's
remember when Cohen passed up on like a 50-yarder when we had plus 6.5 or something in preseason, would have covered.
Yep.
So still tilted about that if you can't tell. Is Tyler Bass returning this week? I haven't found anything, but he should be returning soon, right?
I mean, either way, I'm treating Prater as injured because he keeps like popping up on the injury report and then missing kicks. Like him and McManus, man. Like you just got to manual downgrade them regardless. But I'm not positive, but he could be. So I'm not really. Prater would be a top 12 option still, but kind of some question marks. So I'm probably gonna just knock him down in the rankings a little more.
Well,
and,
Bass might be healthier than Prater at this point. So Bass would be in my top 5 if he returns this week. I just haven't been able to see anything. Nobody's talking about kickers on Twitter.
Yeah, I usually downgrade kickers like that are potentially injured a little more significantly than other positions. So he'd be probably still like fringe top 10, still a startable option. But we've seen it in the past with like McManus, Graham Gano, remember every time he would come back from injury, he'd just like get injured again.
Yeah.
So I'm a little hesitant to go with any Bills kicker right now because Prater looks hurt too. But yeah, it's a good point. It's one of the top team totals on the slate.
You know who their healthiest kicker is right now? Ray Davis.
Ray Davis? No, he's not. He's not healthy.
What? He
got hurt.
He's injured before Dolphins week? Oh no.
Yeah, Ray Davis. I mean, he wasn't even getting. Oh yeah, I guess he was. He got 9 carries and like none in 2 games and none like in the other 8. But I believe he got banged up last week. And Ty Johnson got a touchdown too, right? So
yeah, he's the clear second back right now. The clear backup.
All right, that is going to do it for the Fantasy Flex Week 10. A little chaotic here as the trade deadline unfolds, but be sure to tune in to the channel for our player projections episode, which should be fun. And later in the week, we'll have DFS. And then over on the Action Network pod, we will have touchdowns with our guy, Jill Gallant. You can find Sean on X at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Also, be sure to follow Playbook on Twitter if you're into betting. It'll build you bet slips. Till next time, let's get this money.